We were commissioned to look at the bacterial contamination of people's cars. So we recruited 25 people into the study, and we looked at the bacteria and fungi that grew in their cars, on the steering wheel, on the handbrake, on the gear lever and in the boot, and also with the air blowers on and off, to see what type of fungi and bacteria were living in the cars with them. In the study that we've just undertaken for insurance.co.uk, probably the most sinister microorganism we found was E. coli. And E. coli is a microorganism that lives in the guts of humans and animals, and it can cause food poisoning type symptoms if it's ingested. But even though it's a small sample, it does show that the opportunity is there for these types of organisms to be present in cars. What was quite interesting was that when we looked at the air quality, particularly when you have the air blowers off, the air quality is relatively good really, and as soon as you turn the air blowers on, then the fungal load and the bacterial load seems to increase significantly. But we found that particularly in older cars. So really, the older the car, the more likely it is to have a higher number of bacteria that are there. When children were present in the car, we tended to find a greater number of microorganisms in the car. And one hypothesis might be that because children probably drop crisps and drinks and other bits of nutrients around, that the microorganisms are thriving on those bits of nutrients and actually growing. So I think that if you do eat in your car, you're probably providing extra nutrients for microorganisms to grow. I think that people often overlook the potential for cross-contamination between the diversity of activities that a car is used for. On one day they may be taking waste down to the dump, or they may have a very sodden, dirty dog in the back of their car, and on the next day they're actually picking up food from the supermarket that they're going to eat. And I think that they overlook the potential for cross-contamination between those two events. People perceive their cars as a safe place, and they don't really consider them as being hazardous from a microbiological point of view. People are very aware of hygiene issues in the home, for example in the kitchen and in the bathroom in particular. And if I were to propose to you that you eat some food off a toilet seat or off a dustbin lid, you'd instantly be revolted by that, because you know instinctively that those are potentially unhygienic places. And I think an important outcome of the study that has been commissioned is that cars can represent hazardous places, and that we should be mindful, particularly when we're consuming food, for example, in the car, that they could represent an infection hazard.